Berserk is one of the greatest stories ever created. It's a series that was made by Kentaro Miura and has developed over 30 years to the point that it is at today. It is a deep and thoughtful exploration of the themes of grief, trauma, love, and purpose. And there's probably so much that you've missed, which is why this series is going to explore every part of this story. Welcome to Breaking Down Berserk. Berserk starts by introducing us to a man we will come to know as Guts. Guts hunts and kills demons. That is seemingly his only purpose and his driving force. Even from the first pages, we see Guts will do anything to achieve this goal. He's violent, sometimes monstrous, and extremely tricksy. Berserk doesn't pull any punches of showing us exactly what this man is and what the world he resides in looks like. Guts is a traveller hunting for apostles, men who have become monsters and now lord over the humans, taking them as prey. They have seemingly established themselves as leaders of towns and cities, ruling only by fear. The story starts out with Guts finding himself in one such city, and it quickly establishes exactly why he is there by showing him violently dispatching a group of bandits in a local tavern. In the process, he saves an elf named Puck, who becomes his unwanted companion throughout the arc and story. Guts is clearly an extremely skilled and strong warrior. His weaponry is varied, starting with a fast-firing crossbow that he has attached to a prosthetic arm. That of which can also be used as an explosive cannon. Of course, his most memorable weapon is his sword. Guts' sword is not seen that way by people around him. Instead, it's described as much too big to be a sword. Massive, thick, heavy, and far too rough. Indeed, it was like a heap of raw iron. The brutality of Guts' sword is an impossibility, requiring immense strength and willpower to wield, and dealing immense damage as a result. Guts is able to dismember enemies with one single strike, practically chopping them in half. It's the first of many things that sets Guts apart, and establishes just how much of a threat that he poses. Quickly after the events in the tavern, Guts is captured. Guts' capture acts not only as exposition about his knowledge of the threat that he faces, and how this knowledge is not common for the general population, but it's also a clear show of his ability to withstand pain. Guts is numb, harbouring a hardened exterior both physically and mentally. For someone to be driven to this point, to be able to handle this, means it is not something new to him. He can be tortured vigorously and yet is remarked towards as a stubborn bastard who ain't even gonna make a little noise. And this is the fate that currently awaits him. Word comes back to the leader of the city. The Black Swordsman has come. And the Black Swordsman has a reputation. He is known by the apostles, or at least rumour of him is growing. And this is his intention. It is why he is acting so brashly and gets caught so easily. He is making a statement. He is goading a response from beings that have not faced a challenge before. Guts' return to his cell and experiences a nightmarish vision. A mutilated fetus appears to him, and he recognises it. This is something he is used to experiencing, something that brings him true fear, until he is pulled out of it by Puck, who has come to rescue him. While Guts is clearly physically hardened, he also pushes people away. Puck tries to help him as elves are able to heal wounds, but Guts declines his aid. He has an aversion to touch and aversion to others' help, and he's openly uncaring about others and their struggles. Guts has a mindset of the weak and the strong, and that the weak are not worthy of saving, not worthy of his thought or time, and he doesn't want help or pity from them, nor will he let them stand in his way. Again, he will do anything with no care about who gets hurt to see that his goals are completed. He's selfishly driven. This is the persona that he portrays forward, but Puck can kind of see through it. Puck's ability to sense emotion, to feel emotions permeating from others, alerts us as the reader to feelings of rage, sadness, and fear coming from Guts. He acts like he doesn't care, but the emotions he is holding within are strong. Puck's role in this part of the story is to act as the bridge between the way that Guts portrays himself and the way that Guts truly is. Puck is a vessel for subtly hinting that there's more to Guts than meets the eye. And then we see exactly this from Guts himself. He hurts Puck with his words, with his emotions, but as Puck leaves, clearly saddened, we see Guts contemplate and proceed to self-harm. This is the first moment we see Guts' impact of his own persona, the first moment of what could be interpreted as self-hatred. From here, Guts escapes his cell and comes upon the city in flames. The Snake Lord has come down from his castle and is laying waste to the town, which shows us clearly the ruthlessness of these enemies. But Guts can be just as ruthless. Very quickly they begin to fight, and the Snake Lord muses about the stupidity of a human facing up against an apostle. Despite this, Guts seems to be overpowering him until he transfers fully to his apostle form. The apostles seemed human-like in nature, but this connotes their true forms, which are much more horrific and otherworldly. Guts continues his fight, using his weapons and his guile to attempt to defeat the beast, even to the point of playing dead to get an up-close shot of the Snake Lord's head. Guts is ruthless when he fights. He's strong and resilient. He struggles to defeat the apostles, but he does know how. He is truly a hunter, someone who stands out against humanity, against these powerful beings, and he is someone they fear, but also underestimate. In the final scenes, we watch Guts take out his vengeance on the defeated Snake Lord, torturing him for information. He asks about the God Hand, but finds out very little, and the brand he holds on his neck is given a name, the Brand of Sacrifice. Guts echoes the Snake Lord's words about the weakness of humanity and how they will always have an insistent will to survive. And then he leaves the Snake Lord to burn to death, begging for his life. In the Snake Lord's final moments, his humanity returned. And then Puck says it. The name of the manga, he calls Guts Berserk. In probably the cringiest line in the entire series. If you're watching this channel, you probably like reading. And if you like reading, then you probably need things to read. Well, I've got just the site for you, Sci-Fire. Sci-Fire is an absolutely wonderful bookstore that specializes in sci-fi, fantasy, comic books, and of course, manga. I've been using them for absolutely ages because they not only have great pricing but also fantastic customer service and top-notch packaging. Like, look at this. If you want to use Sci-Fi yourself, you can head down to the link in the description and use the code NERDLOUNGE for 5% off every order. So get yourself some books, get yourself a discount, and support the channel at the same time. Back to the video. The Brand of Sacrifice is a curse that Guts must bear. Every night he is attacked by waves of spirits, all with the intention to fulfill his destiny of being dragged down into the void. And every night he fights them away. This is the turmoil that Guts has to face, and it further cements his weak versus strong mindset. Guts cannot be weak, even for a moment, as the world will take him. He says, "It pisses me off when I see weaklings. I feel like I want to crush them." He uses this speech to get Puck off his back, to scare Puck, but it is reflective of the dog-eat-dog world that Guts resides in, and this belief is about to be challenged. Beneath a rainstorm, Guts runs into a priest and his daughter traveling by cart. He declines their help immediately, trying to distance himself from them for their own good. He admits he is pursued by a legion of evil spirits, which the priest shrugs off. Guts thinks to himself that he doesn't care if something is to happen to them. If they cannot defend themselves because they are weak, then that's not his problem. Guts is shown kindness by these people, and the priest laments on the hardships and pitfalls of living by the sword, as he believes Guts does. He says it is foolish, that it takes away the enjoyment of the simplicity in life. Guts disagrees. Talking about the priest's son, he says, "He died doing what he wanted, no matter what. I bet he was happy." This simple statement gives us as readers so much insight into Guts' mindset, but also becomes so much more powerful as the manga progresses. It's the first mention of purpose, of dreams, of doing what you want for yourself, putting what you want first no matter what. In Guts' case, at this point in the story, this is vengeance, and he thinks that by achieving it, he will be happy. And with that, he sleeps, and again falls deep into nightmare. He is trapped, trying to escape, surrounded by a claustrophobic labyrinth and pursued by the fetus from before. He awakes in fear, realizing quickly that the real world has taken its own nightmarish flavor. The spirits have surrounded them, drawn from a close-by battleground by the brand. Guts steps outside to fight them, telling his companions to stay inside. But the young girl doesn't listen, and Colette is killed, and Guts is surrounded by reanimated skeletons. He fights, destroying them group after group after group. In his distraction, Colette's body has been taken over, and the old priest is murdered by the reanimated corpse of his daughter. Guts is shocked, pausing for just a moment. It's the first time we see him hesitate, another example of the cracks in his exterior opening wider. Because of his hesitation, the girl stabs him, and he dispatches her. He is overcome with emotion, vomiting while he fights, and then his anger takes over and he fights until the sun rises. We see Guts overcome by emotion and exhaustion, and Puck attempts to console him. And just like that, the walls are back up. Guts laughs off the events of the night, lamenting about the fallen people's weakness and referring them as just fodder that need to fall for him to achieve his goal. The spirits around him speak out to him, a threat, a promise, and he reacts by shooting into the sky. This is Guts' curse. This is the brand. We are introduced to a new kingdom ruled by the Count, a man hell-bent on ridding the land of heretics. So hell-bent, he is beginning to kill anyone and everyone as though for pleasure. And of course, Guts is there, and he declares war. He has found his next target. We are briefly exposed to another action scene, with Guts again showing the might of his sword by obliterating a rank of soldiers with full armor. With Puck's help, he defeats a group of them before getting into a fight with a larger knight, the leader of this group, who he also defeats, obviously. Where we have seen Guts struggle against the spirits and the apostles, the humans of this world don't stand a chance against him, except in large numbers. A strange figure provides a distraction for Guts and Puck, allowing them to escape once more soldiers arrive. The strange figure is revealed to be a man named Vargas, who was once a physician but faced the full might of the Count. He has a vendetta against him and wants Guts to help him enact it. Vargas was tortured by the Count, having his legs cut off and his face brutalized. He explains how the Count chopped him up and consumed him, leaving but a ruin remaining. In context to the later story of Berserk, this is an interesting character for Guts to come upon. It reminds him of something. The way this man was treated and the way that it corrupted his heart reminds Guts of something. And then Vargas shows Guts the Behelit. Guts lashes out immediately, questioning Vargas. Vargas explains that it was the Behelit that changed the Count. Since the day that he found it, he became something inhuman. The Count started a war against the heretics, and Vargas was caught up in it, culminating in his torture and him having to watch the Count consume his wife and sons. However, he escaped and stole the Behelit on his way out, a Behelit that Guts is now going to take. Guts explains that it is a key, a way to summon the God Hand, which is exactly what he has been searching for. Guts questions Vargas about how the Count came into contact with the Behelit, wherein he mentions it was purely by chance. Guts is shown contemplating this, making sense of it from his previous knowledge. Given the further context, this is the first mention of causality in the story, and its interlinking with the Behelits. Guts finishes his interaction with Vargas by shutting down his pleas for revenge. He violently pushes him away, demanding he doesn't touch him and that Vargas disgusts him. He says he will kill the Count, but not because Vargas asked him. At that moment, they are attacked by the brute of a man that Guts defeated earlier, who has been possessed by the demon of the Count. This gives him supernatural abilities, specifically the ability to heal from wounds and dismemberment. Guts fights him off, increasing his speed to match that of the monster. Puck remarks that the attacks are faster than the eye can see, and that Guts is a master swordsman. Beforehand, it had seemed as though Guts only held brute strength and resolve in his repertoire, but this proves he is a master swordsman alongside this. The beast continues to regenerate, leaving them only one way to end the fight: escape. Vargas leads them outside, where him, Guts and Puck part. Guts takes the Behelit, and Puck stays behind to wish Vargas off. He apologizes for his first impressions of the man, and imparts that he believes living for the future is more important than trying to avenge the past. This quote is another example of Miura's beautiful foreshadowing, and his ability to plant the seeds of his theology in the very first chapters of the story. Because what Puck says here is Guts' story summarized so plainly and so simply in just a random panel. Puck leaves, laughing off what he has said, leaving Vargas alone. Guts walks off, being accosted for his behaviour by Puck. He informs Puck, yet again, of his mindset, stating that he would have taken the Behelit by force if needed. He doesn't want anyone dragging him down or standing in his way. But then he overhears the locals discussing an execution that is about to occur, and he grimaces. Guts sits alone. He's shunned Puck away once again and is alone with his thoughts. He looks over himself at his missing arm, his missing eye. He draws comparisons to Vargas, seeing himself in him. Is Vargas what could have become of Guts? Is Vargas what will become of Guts if he becomes enamored with his revenge? This notion angers him and he strikes out, destroying a wall with his fist. The execution that Guts overheard rumour of is actually an execution of Vargas, a trap to draw Guts out. And he is there, but he can see the plan and is avoiding it. He knows Vargas will die and pretends not to care. His emotions pour into Puck, but within the self-hatred and destructive thoughts there is fear. Fear that Guts is fighting a losing battle. Fear that Guts is just like Vargas. Guts knows this is true. He knows Puck is right, and he hates it. Vargas is killed, and with his dying words he pleads the Black Swordsman to defeat the Count. Guts hears this, feels it, and in a way, it curses him. He vows to defeat the Count on his own. The next chapter focuses on Guts' ascent of the tower to find the Count. Along the way, he fights the man Zondar once again, another brutal battle showing his fighting ability. But while this is happening, Puck is introduced to the Count's daughter, Theresia. Theresia is locked away in her room, away from the world, and is the reason that the Count is hunting the heretics. He wants to make the world safe for her, and yet he keeps her prisoner. And her animosity towards him grows, her fear of him becoming stronger and stronger. We see that despite the fact that the Count is a monster, he still holds some form of human connection to his daughter, longing for her to see him, to touch him. He wants to protect her in the way that he thinks is right. Theresia explains to Puck why she believes her father has changed. She tells of a heretic sect that took his wife, her mother, hostage and vowed to kill her unless the Count met their demands. He didn't, so she was sacrificed alive. He chose to protect the kingdom over protecting her. Theresia muses that he was a good man, a good ruler, and a good father. but he changed. She now doesn't even think he is human. Guts completes his ascent, demolishing one final set of soldiers before coming face to face with the Count. Puck notices this commotion and leaves Theresia in order to help, promising to come back for her. In the ensuing chaos from Guts' fight, Theresia escapes. Guts and the Count fight, and very quickly the Count reveals his true form, the Slug Baron. Guts quickly realizes he is outmatched, as no matter how much damage he does, the slug comes back bigger and stronger. Guts uses his guile and dexterity to land some fleeting hits on the Slug Baron, but it is no use. The Slug Baron monologues about the futility of Guts' quest, of how a mortal cannot stand in the face of the gods, that his fight is meaningless, that he is weak, that the Slug Baron can take away his pain, his fight, and give him his destiny that the brand has attached to him, because divine providence cannot be thwarted by man's efforts. You cannot fight against destiny. Guts is about to be killed, but Puck stands before him. He reminds the Count of his past, of his human origins. He accuses the Count of being a coward, of using the Behelit to run away from his pain, to cast away his humanity for fear of it. This is the moment we see the Count for who he really is, a man afraid of his humanity who would do anything to save himself from it, which is exactly why he became an apostle. At this moment, Theresia bursts in the door. She comes face to face with her father and screams. He has tried to hide this from her, to hide what he had become, and someone had forced his hand. He grows angry and lashes out, giving Guts another opportunity to rejoin the fight. Guts, driven only by his anger at this point, uses Theresia as a hostage. The Count hesitates long enough for Guts to deal a shot from his cannon to the Count's face. Guts is broken, his hand mangled, but he picks up his sword with his mouth, pushing through his last stand, and beheads the Count. But just like with the Snake Lord, Guts doesn't leave it there. This scene, despite Guts' intentions, shows nothing but how far his depravity is taking him. He tortures the Count, showing Theresia what he has become, what his immortal body can take. Puck begs him to stop, not to do this in front of Theresia. Guts threatens him. He's trying to show Theresia the horrors of the world, trying to punish the Count for what he has done. He's taking out his rage on the corpse and gaining pleasure from it. He stabs him over and over and over, almost to the point of looking psychotic. And it's at this moment where the Count pleads that he doesn't want to die, that his blood mixes with the Behelit and activates it. Guts, Theresia, Puck, and the Count are plunged into a different reality, surrounded by a labyrinth of Escrian staircases. The design of the astral realm here is supposed to be unnerving, the impossibility of it in clear contrast to the normal world. This is what Guts is fighting against. The God Hand appears. This is what this first arc has been leading up to. These are the Guardians of Desire. We are shown 5 members: Conrad, Slan, Ubik, Void, and Femto. And Guts knows one of them. He screams out the name Griffith. But the God Hand aren't here for Guts. He is merely a distraction for them from their true purpose. They are here to grant the Count's desire for life by forcing him to make a sacrifice. He puts Guts forward for this, but they decline. The God Hand member that Guts called Griffith explains that his petty existence is beneath our notice, which of course angers Guts. He faces Griffith, lamenting about how he is only where he is now because of him, that he isn't some godly being. At this point in the story, we have no idea what happened to these two, but in context, Guts' words are very close to the truth. It is revealed that Griffith, or Femto, is the one who marked Guts with the brand. Guts lunges towards him, but is unable to get close. He is unable to fight. We see the absolutely monumental task that Guts has in front of him. The God Hand is who he's been hunting for all along, and he can't even get close to them. His task is nigh on impossible. You can't fight literal gods. Finished with the distraction, the God Hand demand the Count perform the invocation of doom, the ritual of sacrificing that which he holds dear to prolong his life as an apostle or else be dragged into hell. The sacrifice will cut his final ties to humanity, the final memory he is clinging onto, Theresia. But he can't do it, not again. Theresia doesn't understand, doesn't know what the Count did to become an apostle, but the God Hand are more than willing to show her. After coming home from a crusade to hunt down heretics, the Count returns to find his own wife practicing a ritual of the flesh, surrounded by heretics and loomed over by a statue of the devil. He can't believe what he sees, cannot understand the betrayal, so he kills everyone apart from his wife. He can't bring himself to do it, and his wife relishes in his weakness. She knows she has betrayed him, and she knows she has defeated him, and he is overcome with emotion. He attempts to kill himself, but this last act of despair activates the Behelit. He chooses to sacrifice his wife in return for an escape to the pain, the sorrow, and the despair. He leaves humanity behind because it is just too hard to bear. And this sets up an interesting precedent for the apostles. They are all given this opportunity in a moment of weakness or the utmost despair when the choice is easy to make. They choose the coward's solution instead of choosing to continue the fight like Guts did. After this, we get a very brief flashback to young Guts and Griffith, showing their time together as friends. We see Griffith's drive, his quest, his destiny, and how Guts looks up to him, how he shone, but now he is nothing but darkness. The Count is warned of what his rejection will bring, how he will be dragged to hell. He doesn't want to die, but in the end, he is selfless towards his daughter and he cannot kill her. He threw away almost all of his humanity, but in the end, he was still a father. Again, this suggests that in part, the apostles aren't necessarily purely evil. He is taken, dragged to hell with Vargas at the helm. The souls of all those he has killed, those he sentenced to damnation, strip his human body from his apostle form and drag him into the abyss. In the fray, Guts takes one final shot at Griffith, but is still unable to hit him. The reality closes around them, and Guts, Puck, and Theresia are left. In the final moments of the arc, Theresia pushes Puck and Guts away, damning them for opening her up to the world. She wishes to go back to her room, then she wishes to die. And Guts gives her this option, the coward's way out, telling her to kill herself. It's harsh and horrible and wrong, and yet he means it. He's demanding she chooses what to do with her life. If she doesn't want to continue fighting, then give up. He's giving her the option that he never had. And when she goes to do it, causing the rock she sits on to begin to fall, Guts saves her. He saves the life of someone weak. He takes away her choice to die. He forces her to live on, and she vows revenge on him for it. She promises to kill him one day, and Guts accepts. And as he walks away, his external self at its final breaking point, he cries. The Black Swordsman arc gives us a perfect initial look into the world of Berserk. It explores the character of Guts in a way that cannot really be seen as positive. Guts expresses himself as selfish, cruel, and unfazed by the world around him. But as the arc progresses, we see this shell around him begin to break down. The arc slowly feeds us this breakdown of his detachment towards the world. Through small yet very poignant scenes, we see Guts' mindset about living for a purpose, about stopping at nothing to achieve it. And we also see the opposite of Puck's mindset, which is to live for the sake of living instead of for revenge. In this arc, they are but simple statements, single panels, but they underline so much of what Berserk is about and the message that Berserk is trying to portray. When given the context of the rest of the story, the Black Swordsman arc makes so much more sense, which is exactly what Miura's intention was. He perfectly built up intrigue around the world, the story, and the characters in a way that would be impossible if you started the story chronologically. It's so powerful to see that someone could be driven to this point, and hard to to think about what drove him this far. That's what makes the Black Swordsman such a powerful arc and a really interesting opening to the series, because it feeds us a world that is different, a character that has clearly changed, and we don't yet know why. And of course, there's only one way to find out. Hey, thanks for watching. This video has been on the cards for absolutely ages, and it's the preliminary episode to probably the biggest series that I'm ever going to do. We're going to have episodes breaking down each arc of the story, with important arcs probably being broken down across multiple episodes. And after that, we're going to do breakdowns of each character in Berserk, and I just cannot wait to talk more about this phenomenal series. I want you guys to let me know down in the comments below if you liked the format of this video and if there's anything that you would change for the next one. I'm always up for making changes to how I do this. And also let me know what your favorite part of the Black Swordsman arc is. While you're down there, you can also like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to be alerted every single time I upload. And if you want to pick up any manga or books for yourself, you can use the link down in the description to Sci-Fi and use my code NERDLOUNGE for 5% off any purchase you make. And last but certainly not least, if you've enjoyed this video and want to check out another one of mine, you can see either of the ones on the left and right of me, or if you're done for the day, I will catch you in the next one. Bye bye.